The maximum sentence for an Adams resident and former corrections officer in a case that gained nationwide attention. 7 News reporter Lexi Bruning has more on the sentencing and words from David Kingsley himself.
In shackles, an orange jumpsuit, and a bulletproof vest, an Adams man who was once in charge of handling prisoners is now one himself, spending 25 years to life behind bars. David Kingsley was sentenced Friday morning in Oneida County Court. Following his October trial, Kingsley was found guilty of second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter for his part in the beating death of Marcy Correctional Facility inmate Robert Brooks. Body camera footage shown during the trial depicts Kingsley grabbing and holding Brooks's neck. His cause of death was compression of the neck and multiple blunt force injuries. Prior to the sentencing, Brooks's son, Robert Brooks Jr., said Kingsley and the other officers treated his father like an object.
What happened in this courtroom matters. So I pray that the courtroom imposes a sentence severe enough to tell correctional officers that they cannot treat incarcerated people like animals.
Despite defense attorney Luke Niebusch asking for a 15-year sentence, Judge Robert Bauer sentenced Kingsley to 25 years to life on the murder conviction and 25 years with 5 years post-release supervision on the manslaughter conviction. Those sentences will run at the same time. Before being sentenced, an emotional Kingsley spoke on the events of Brooks's death for the first time, apologizing to Brooks' family and calling the incidents senseless.
I'm so sad to think that any action of mine that is untimely death, words cannot express how truly saddened and heartbroken I am that I was involved in such a tragic event that took someone's loved one from them. I, like many others, including the Brooks family, will have to live with that for the rest of my life.
Several other officers involved took plea deals. 2 others who were tried alongside Kingsley in October were found not guilty. Lexi Bruning, 7 News.